Moin, ihr wunderbare Menschen des Interwebs. Ich begrüße euch ganz herzlich zurück zu meinem Let's Play von The Great Ace-Attorney Chronicles. Wir sind bei der Zeugenaussage The Detective and the Identification Sheet. Damit machen wir jetzt weiter. The truth is, took prisoner and kept him for the night at our secret hideout. Even though I didn't was a real detective, I was too scared to let him go that day, just in case. He took the man's identification from him and shut him in the room next to ours. There might have been a little tussle, but we did him no harm, and the next morning we let him go. Spent the night in a nice room. It was nothing like prison, really. Okay. This is outrageous. You imprisoned the man. But no, see, no. Was not like a prison. It was very comfortable and calm and happy. Hey, Kappa? It was never part of my plan. I swear it. So you think it was my fault, huh? Just because I got the date of the very wrong by one little a day. I do not think it was your fault, Peppino. I know it. No. Father Capo is not fair. You shall have plenty of time for squabbling back at the prison, gentlemen. I don't believe this. How could he have been a real detective? Counsel for the defense, proceed with the cross-examination. So on the day before the incident, Gregson spent the night at this pair's hide. Secret hideout. Even though I didn't was a real detective, I was too scared to let him go that day, just in case. There might have been a little tussle, but we didn't harm. Okay, so there might have been a little tussle. Das ist etwas, womit ich arbeiten kann. What do you mean by a little tussle exactly? It was nothing, just a minor incident. The falscher Inspektor, he was a real piece of the work, Capo. What happened? Oh, it was a disaster. We give him a nice room, and what does he do, huh? In the middle of the night, he tries to escape through the ventilator. Can you blame him? We chased him, we're sure. And we caught him again. Can you blame us? Wait, you didn't shoot the man in your haste, did you? What do you think we are? Of course not. I simply caught hold of him again and took him back to the room. Mr. De Rossi, is something wrong? Me? Something Mr. De Rossi just said seemed Russo. Well, it seemed to make you act even more strangely than usual. What was that all about? Well, at times like that you don't want to have the capo after you, believe me. And I speak from personal experience. That is enough, Peppino. There is no need to say more. The truth is, the night before we put the red-headed league plan into action, I was scared. It was not fair to the capo, but I tried to run away. It's a shame you didn't manage it. But the capo here came after me like the turban, and he dragged me back to the house, kicking and screaming. I still have the bruises to prove it, capo. Bruises, you say? You wanna see, huh? Wanna see my fantastic bruises? That's enough now, Peppino. No one wants to look at any part of you. What to do? I show you, or I don't. I show you, or I don't. You do. Now. Allora, if everybody wants to see, then I do it. Ecco, you see? It's still very visible, eh? That red ring around your neck? Got that when you were dragged back to the house. See, the capo's... I said that's enough. Peppino snack has nothing to do with what we are talking about here. You have my word. What is your opinion, counsel? About this red ring around Mr. De Rossi's neck? I wonder, does it matter? Mr. De Rossi, I'm going to have to ask you to amend your testimony with details about that mark on your neck. Hi, Capo, you see? Everyone is interested in what I say, huh? Very well, you will amend your testimony as requested, Mr. De Rossi. You see, you really want that, now? Okay, he tried to escape, but the Capo put the collar on him and dragged him back, like what he did to me. Collar. Jetzt ist meine Frage. Ich weiß halt jetzt nicht, ob dieser Reifen, also ob das jetzt ein, ja, so eine Mark ist. Abgestürfe von dem Halsband. Oder ob das ein Schatten sein soll. Aber für einen Schatten ist es dunkel. Schwimm weg. Weg wollte ich klicken. So. So the day before his body was discovered, Inspector Gregson was taken prisoner while working incognito. No, it was not like that. I was hardly a prison. It was an invitation to stay. It was only. However, you describe it. There's one glaring inconsistency that remains. What inconsistency, counsel? I would ask the court to look closely at this photograph of the victim of Gregson. You will see that there is no red ring visible around his neck. Doch ist auf the Schatten. But that makes no sense. It was me who took at the collar of the man in the morning, and I saw the red bruises on his neck, just like I have. Given that the mark is still clearly visible on this witness's neck, we would expect to see bruising on the victim who was put in the collar more recently than De Rossi. Indeed, there is most clear. But what I tell you, huh? Say this from the beginning, many times. Peppino is right. The man in the photograph is someone different to the man we had kept dead. It would appear then that on the day before the incident, the man who visited the park on Lion Street posing as incognito inspector was not Inspector Gregson at all. If that's true, however, how do you explain the inspector's identification? This is a genuine identification book issued by Scotland Yard. It's inconceivable that someone could have stolen such an important item from the inspector. The prosecution made that assertion itself. And we also know that the inspector had made a note about the red-headed league in the diary for that day, which surely means he can't force the truth completely. The inconsistency noted by the defense is most troubling. If it were the real Inspector Gregson whom these two red-headed gentlemen encountered, the fact that no bruising can be seen around his neck defies explanation. But equally, if they actually encountered an imposter, how did the person come to be in possession of the real inspector's identification? Does the defense have some plausible explanation, counsel? The whole thing defies explanation. For precisely meticulous notes in the court record, Mr. Naruhodo. Those are the facts, and the facts cannot lie. No, the facts can't lie. Even when they point to something incredible, it's almost unbelievable. Well, my lord, the true identity of the person who turned up in the park for the red-headed league enrollment revealed by information in the court record, I believe. Good gracious. Very tantalizing, Mr. Naruhodo, so why don't you help us all to see whatever truth it is that you've apparently seen. Who exactly was this inspector that appeared before Mr. De Rosso and Mr. De Rossi? Ein Imposter. Das würde dann meine Theorie bestätigen. That's correct. So it seems incredible, I admit. The undeniable facts point only one thing. Since no bruising can be seen on the victim's neck, the person who these two red-headed men took prisoner that day cannot have been Inspector Gregson. In other words, your whole argument up to now has been a waste of time. On the contrary, I haven't finished. There's no bruising on the victim's neck, so the question immediately posed next is, who exactly was this man in the park on Lion Street found to be carrying Inspector Gregson's identification? See, that's right. We tell the man's story every time. Whoever this man was, the capo dragged him from a pillar to a post with a dog collar. Oh dear Peppino, I was not so harsh as you say. So who was that, a false inspector, eh? Who was he? Clearly, the defense has an idea about that. About the true identity of the man these two imprisoned that night. I must ask the counsel for the defense to elaborate post-haste. Who did the witnesses encounter in the park posing as Inspector Gregson? Okay. Gossip? Der hat die gleiche, der hat diese gleichen Spuren unter dem am Hals. Und die Beschreibung würde passen. Das sieht ja sein Kinn sehr viel schmäler gewesen. Und ja, jetzt nur alleine wegen der Markierung hier, kann das ja dann nur er gewesen sein. Goodness me, isn't that... One of the witnesses who was in a stand in this very courtroom earlier today. A nameless man whose only occupation appears to be peddling her hearsay to passers-by. What on earth would a street seller be doing with a police inspector's identification papers? Witnesses, is this the man or not? What has happened to his lip? This man is not for the red-headed leak, eh? They're looking for the lip leak, no? Perhaps rather than making such a rush claim next time, you should bite your lip instead. It seems improbable, yes, but one undeniable fact remains. During his testimony earlier, I noted something around the man's neck. A red ring of bruising. The defense demands that Mr. Gossip be brought back to the courtroom. Go back to the Sandstand, ich hab's nur. Bring the aforementioned witness back into the courtroom immediately. Well, I never... An undeniable ring of bruising indeed. And identical to that of the witness beside him. Now what's going on here, huh? I've always had this it's a birthmark, isn't it? A birthmark, you say? I assume the reason you've been recalled to the stand has been explained to you. Somewhat about an inspector again, but I'm telling you, you've got it all wrong as usual. You're denying all knowledge of it. Well, of course I am. Were you trying to kill me with all this nonsense? Well, at least have more stories to paddle back on Fresno Street, won't you? Now, we're going to need you to testify again. And you, Mr. De Russo and Mr. De Rossi, I'm sure you cooperate, won't you? Do we have any choice? You're in the big trouble, eh, Capo? That's quite enough. Dilatory chatter. Proceed with the testimony. Okay, the Inspector and the Identification revisited. Das ist Zeugenaussage. Und mit dieser geht es im Part weiter. Ich bedanke mich ganz herzlich fürs gesehen. Hoffe, ihr hattet Spaß und wenn ihr mögt, sehen wir uns sehr, sehr gerne im Part wieder. Bis dahin, ciao.